Hello everyone. Namaste. Uh, Nonviolent Communication Practice Group Nepal has been offering several sessions on nonviolent communication with the intention of deepening our practice and also giving insights on different topic in within the nonviolent communication. So today we have a special guest, and I'd love to call her a part of our team rather than a guest. She's already a part of us and our community. So it's the most awaited session by me as well as a lot of practitioners from Nepal also. And we are really lucky to have Simone Anliker from Switzerland with us in this show today. So Simone, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Namaste to all the people in Nepal, and I'm very happy to be here and see you again, Sri Ram. It's just a joy and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We are really grateful uh, for you being here with us. And it's like with this COVID challenges, the pandemic, a lot of things are turning up, and it has been going on. Some are going as expected, and some are without beyond the expectations. And it has given us a lot of opportunities. Also, I guess if we have the regular normal situation, it was difficult to connect with you, but now this COVID pandemic and a lot of trainings are on hold, and then we have this opportunity to have this talk show. And so I'm really feeling blessed and happy to have you. So today in this show, we are talking about the Dyad meditation. And Simone Anliker, she has recently, I guess it has not been a long time, she has been practicing offering sessions on it. And recently she has published a book, The Power of Dyad Meditation. And we'll be talking, we'll hear more about the book from her. And apart from a non-violent communication trainer, and she's a global Dyad meditation, she's offering sessions on meditation also, and she's a trainer for living compassion and a life coach as well as a NARM practitioner. And I was a little bit curious, and a lot of participants, my friends, they were also asking, what is this NAM? Other things
Yeah.
we can read it, and what is this NAM? So I guess rather than telling more about NAM by me, we listen from her what actually is this NAM. So Simon, how are the days going on?
Well, I'm here in Switzerland. I'm up in the mountains today. It's beautiful weather. So after the call, I will go out. We have around lunchtime here. So it was very foggy. And so I want to go out into the sun again and just go for a hike. So I'm blessed to be here in Switzerland. I feel a little bit, I wouldn't say stuck, but normally I was traveling before, I say in like former times before the COVID. And now I'm mostly here in Switzerland. And for me, it is, actually it didn't change a lot in my life because of me being all around the world and traveling. I did a lot of what I do and still do. I did a lot online. So as you mentioned, the Dyad meditation, I started that online 2017. And to come back to your question about the NARM is the neuroaffective relational model by Dr. Lawrence Heller. And it's actually a trauma work. And the reason why I chose to also deepen my studies and also my offerings on trauma, and this is developmental trauma, is because being a trainer since 2005, I noticed that in many cases, when we have difficulties in communicating or communication, it's because there is still, I call this like luggage or biography from our time when we were children, and it's still in our system. And whenever we get triggered, And I call this like beyond what the trigger actually is. Like, it's kind of that someone says something, or there is a situation, there is something connected with my past, and so that stands in front of me, and I could do like this. I'm looking at the person or the situation through my past experience. And I found that I needed more tools to work with my own trauma in my life, and also work with other people who do have problems with trauma. And many of us are not even aware of, because we think trauma is something like, woof, has to be like an earthquake or something. But, you know, I think that even living in this time, in these decades we're here, all of us somehow carry trauma in our system. Just to be a human being is kind of traumatizing. And, you know, the word trauma only means wounding. So it's like a deep wounding that is still not being healed. And when we are in communication with someone else, that's actually what happens. That all that stuff comes up, and then we see it. So 2016, I decided to also become a NARM. We call them, it's called a NARM practitioner. I just finished my master class now, and also learning just about developmental trauma and also shock trauma. Could be like a shock trauma, could be like you're losing, for example, a dear family member, or you split, or you divorce, or just some outer one-time experience, and your system still has problem to digest it and integrate it. And then the combination of nonviolent communication and trauma gives that package that I am offering, together with all the spirituality I bring into the way I'm sharing my understanding of NVC.
Thank you, Simon, for making it more clear. And then, so our listeners, I would like to request all our listeners and viewers, non-violent communication practitioners, and new to non-violent communications also, if you have any queries around this non-violent communication and the talk we are doing here, if you have any questions personally to Simon, then you can just write it or comment it in our page, where I have streamed this video live, and we'll try to address. We invite you to write your questions there, so we would have an opportunity to address these questions later on. So today, I would like to remind you, or to reinforce the idea what we are doing, what we are actually talking about here. So the bitter reality in the modern world that man has, or human beings, they have touched the moon, they have uh, gone to the sky, and then beyond these stars and beyond the world also. Sometimes we hear stories around that, but still we are unknown to our neighbors, and also sometimes we have a long list of friends in Facebook, but we do not have a real connection or someone who could hold us in difficult times.
Yes.
Like this. So how we can create a meaningful connection first within ourselves, with me, Sriram, making connection with Sriram himself, and also with Simon, or somebody who is listening to us right now. How we can connect with people around us in this difficult time. So Simon, we're talking about this Dyad meditation, and in before, at the beginning also we have talked about it, and also I have mentioned about the book The Power of Dyad Meditation. uh, Simone has published this book. So what is Dyad meditation, and how does it support, or in this challenging situation, to connect with myself and to connect with others? So I would like to invite you to share your experiences, your observations around that.
Yes, I love to talk about it. You know, diet is the DYAD. Sometimes people hear diet and they think it has something to do with food. And I said, no, 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 no. It's the DYAD, the diet. So diet means basically two. It's a Greek word that means two people coming together. And like we are here on this program, or we can have on Zoom or on FaceTime or wherever. We can do it on a computer or we can do it in real life. So diet meaning two people coming together. And what are we doing? It goes back to the 68 when Charles Berner, he was an engineer and he also had connections to India. So he had, I don't remember, maybe it was Ramana Maharshi, who was his teacher. And I think it was Ramana because when Charles had this inspiration, he was a transformational teacher. And he wanted to help people to understand and get an idea who they really are. And with all the practices he did, it was quite difficult. He realized how difficult it is for people to really understand who they were. So in a moment of leisure, and that very often happens when people ponder, and so in a moment of leisure, he had this insight, like it's almost like an inspiration or a download. He thought, well, why not combine the question Ramana Maharshi asked, like, who are you, with a special format he knew from the session Zen practice. And his wife, actually, at the time, Ava, she had already in her psychological practice, she developed a way of how people can talk and interact like this in pairs. So he combined all these three things, and then what was the outcome? What he called the enlightenment technique. So it was a very structured way of two people coming together, one person giving the instruction at that time, and it still is the same when for the people of the enlightenment intensive practice. Then they said, "Tell me who you are." That was the instruction. And then the person receiving the question or the instruction goes inside and connects with the wisdom inside and really tunes in and listens inside. And then after a while, speaking out what he or she received as the truth. And then the powerful thing is that normally, and this is different from silent meditation, when we meditate, we go inside and then we are silent. But in a diet, we're speaking out what we normally just keep for ourselves. And that's why I call it the power. The power of the meditation is the other person is listening and I have someone receiving what I'm sharing. And you know this because you can make a lot of interviews. It's the interview always lives from the person, not only the person sharing, but also from the people and the interviewer or the other person receiving and being there in presence. And what we do in the diet, normally, like we hear, we're nodding and we're smiling and we're kind of friendly and interactive with our hands. In the diets, what we try is, I'm just a silent observer. I'm there receiving you, but I'm not encouraging or nodding. So as the listener, I'm very just silent and very present, and I'm not taking your stage. And we do this for 5 minutes, and then we switch. And then, like, for example, you would have asked me the instructions, then you would have been just very clear in giving me the instructions. and then receiving what I'm saying. After 5 minutes, there is a gong, and then I would give you the instruction. So that's the original format. Now, what happens is I didn't learn from Charles Berner. I think, I don't know, he is not alive anymore, but I learned the Dyad practice through Robert Gonzalez. And you mentioned I'm also doing, for many years, I was as learning with him and then assisting him and then also co-teaching with him. And Robert has the network of living compassion, and his way and his understanding on NVC and also bringing in the spirituality. And the guy at Robert, he was also an enlightenment teacher. He learned from Charles Berner. So he found, and he says that nonviolent communication and the enlightenment technique he learned were the most powerful tools for transformation. So what he did, he took the Dyad format, and in the beginning it was still the question, tell me who you are. But then what he did, he combined it with needs. So the instruction was not anymore, tell me who you are, but for example, like, tell me how freedom lives in you, or tell me what compassion is. So he created, at the time, he called it the Beauty of Needs Dyad meditation. And this was all around, and this is wonderful and extremely helpful for NVC people who like to deepen their understanding on needs, to do a Dyad. And for example, I would ask you, so tell me how freedom lives in you. And then we keep the same format. I would ask you the question, and you go inside, you listen, how does freedom live in you? And then after a while, you would speak it out. And I'm there, just silent, present, receiving what you're saying. I'm not nodding, not interacting. And that creates that safe space where you have a wonderful place to really dive deep, connect with your inner wisdom. And I'm just there being present. And, we have this saying, when two are present, kind of in the divine's name, there's always that third energy there. So it's kind of creating that safe and beautiful place. So that's how I learned. I also did it online for many years as an assistant. And in 2017, I had this very strong inspiration, and I was almost driven to bring the Dyad online, to create that global platform. And it has to be for free, so everyone all over the world, people can join. So I created a platform. We use Zoom, and people from all over the world can join. And in the beginning, it was only on Sundays. And then now we have it on a daily basis, like 7 o'clock European time would be 11:15, I think, your time, or 12:15 Nepal time. So people can join for 1 hour and 15 minutes and do the Dyad. Now I present 4 questions. For example, right now we're working on open to presence. What's arising in you? Or question number 2 would be open to stillness. What's arising in you? Or open to the unknown. What's arising in you? Or open to love. What's arising in you? So I had inspiration to use 4 questions, and people always can choose. And what I really, really enjoy is that I become my own guru, because I connect with the wisdom inside. And it's not something that you tell me. you're just helping. The question just helps to set the direction. And then I go inside and I listen to what's going, what comes alive for me, what's there, what is the inspiration. And very often I record my diet, my own diet, because, you know, there is just wisdom flowing through. Once you're aligned, and you might know this from your personal meditation, when you are in alignment, when your mind and your heart is in alignment, and you're just kind of being in that, then wisdom just follows, and you're speaking that out. And very often after the diet, I forget. So it is good to have it recorded and re-listen and make notes. So that's kind of what we're doing and what diets are about. And there's more to, I'm happy to talk a little bit more how I see how diets can support us, especially in this time of lockdown and so. But now I talked like this was a long monologue. So maybe you have
so
some.
it was like just flowing, and then it was very soothing. It's like the soothing balm on the pain or something. I was just enjoying listening, and then yeah, we are with in a talk show with Simone, and then I met her in Bali 2017 IIT for the first time, and that was my first international experience and first international training on nonviolent communication. Before that I was also like myself a guru or something. I'm learning with from the book, and then reading, going through, searching over internet. And the first time I met Simone in Bali, and at that time I was feeling that joy and then that energy, the boundless love she was offering. And it was a bitter experience there. I was caught with that chicken pox, and then it was not diagnosed, and suddenly she was there. All the teammates they were sharing prayers, and then I was getting well in around 3 to 5 within 3 to 5 days. So it was like a miraculous space for me, and also a learning and a place for connection. So since then we are in regular connection, and sometimes I used to trouble asking a lot of questions, and also I'm very
No
happy with
trouble.
community. No, I just
No.
enjoy asking, and then I'm receiving this huge gift. And in this time also, I make a request, and Simone is there. So this is what sometimes people used to ask me, what non-violent communication has given to you? A lot of joy, a lot of friends, a lot of connection, and this compassion, this energy that's flowing within me and my friends, and the empathic support. So yeah, as I have already mentioned, with Simone I have felt that energy, and then now she has talked about this diet meditation also. And in later on we'll post about how our listeners, our viewers can access in the diet meditation every day. If time suits you, then I invite you to join. And sometimes I am also practicing it, and even within my team members also I am taking these few questions, and we are asking, playing some role plays in diet. So it has been an wonderful journey, or like a roadmap for a connection, going deeper and deeper with those questions. And so uh, Simone, and it's what I have heard about diet meditation, like you have already shared also. And I was just following you and watching these videos on diet meditation. Here I noticed somewhere you have mentioned about moving from this beta to alpha, or something like that, connection point, where we just transcend and go deeper and deeper into the space of one, or the fundamental
Yes, now
reality
you're just
that
gone. Okay, you're back. You just lost you for a moment. Okay.
oh yeah, it's like we all are the fundamental reality that we all are one. Even we are two people here talking together, and there are a lot of people listening and watching us, but it's like we all are one. So how is it? How what does it mean by moving from beta to alpha? Would you please explain about it a little bit?
Yes. So what you're mentioning is, and this is also really beautiful, because there has been research done on the power of diet. So in 2017, when I had the inspiration, there was actually the Max Planck Institute in Germany. They just did some research on different types of diets. So they had the basis of that research was also nonviolent communication. So Professor Tanya Singer, I know that she was studying with some colleagues of mine in Zurich. So she had and she has a whole studies on compassion and empathy. And she was curious about these different ways of meditating. And one of this was also the diet meditation. So she did some research on that. And what they found out is doing this diet meditation really helps to connect from heart to heart. And it lowers the stress level, especially for people like social stress. Social stress is what do other people think about me? So I behave in a way, I'm kind of losing myself and trying to adapt to what other people think about me. And what they found out that this just really connecting with you is helping to calm the system. And also it really reduces loneliness. So this was the research from the Max Planck Institute. Then I did some connections through the work I learned. I was also still am a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who has just his own approach, and he talks a lot about brain waves and what the effect of brain waves is when we meditate. And he has all his research going on. So a couple of years ago was one of his retreats, and I had all these brain scans on my brain, and I even had heart mass stuff on my body because I did diets and stuff like this. So I did my own little research. I don't have any results from that. But what I like is Dr. Joe Dispenza, he works closely together with the Heart Math Institute. And the Heart Math Institute, they did some research on heart and brain coherence. And from there, you know that when we're meditating and when we have different states of brain waves. So, for example, when we are learning, we are in beta. Beta is also like normal daily life. When we are really excited and or afraid, we go into high beta. So this is a different brain wave. And when we relax, when we deep breathly, when we relax, going into a meditative state, our brain waves slow down and we're going more into an alpha state. And there is also theta and delta. And alpha is that state where I'm still awake, but kind of a little bit like dreamy, a little bit like that's when you're in meditation and you notice that your mind is not so there anymore, but you're going into like a different state of being. I compare it a little bit in the morning when you wake up and you just came out of a dream, and the time before you get up, and it's kind of you're in that state of kind of dream-like state. And the moment you get up and you go whatever you want to do, it's kind of you're losing your dream. You don't remember even what you dreamt. So in the diets, what happens through the presence of this other person, we are slowing down our brain waves. And there is no research done on this, but this is just for my own experience. I have a sense if someone comes in the diet and is highly active, like maybe just some talk or something happened and I'm kind of still upset and my mind is going, and the mind always wants to protect us. And the mind always tells us all these stories how to protect. And the mind is, that's what we have, what we learn also in NVC. The mind has all these strategies. But what's more important is to get to the heart level. And that would be cool if there would be some research also about nonviolent communication. That I think when we are connected with our needs, we are more likely in a brainwave state of receptiveness and connection to the inside. So what Joe Dispenza says, he says when we are going to alpha, so calming down our mind by the presence of someone else. So to pick up what I just wanted to say, if someone comes really agitated and you are there, just being present and just being there, and you're breathe deeply. I mean, you know that already in empathy. If you are just there and be there, the other person slows down and something happens with so we do have an interactive way of what's going, because we're slowing down. If I'm there, if I'm judging, I'm on high beta, I'm going into that. But if I'm coming from my heart, I would say, I mean, this is my theory. I don't know if this has any research done, but it's just from what I experience. Then my heart opens. I'm much more with you. And in the presence of someone who is present and compassionate and open-hearted, but still-minded, your system can slow down. So that was my experience in many diets, and people come like this, and I just stay with what's going on for me. After a while, I could see that my partner also slowed down and had more access to the inner worlds. So what Joe Dispenza says is when we're in alpha, the inner world opens up. So we have more access to like what I would say inner worlds for me is like the true nature of us, who we are in real, like more access to our souls. And when we go even deeper to theta, that's the moment when, that's what they say, when images might come in. And I say the soul, for many people, the soul communicates in images. And that's when you get like inner visions or inner images. And the cool thing is you're also trying to give words to them. So that's happening when we go to theta. And some people say, this I don't know in the diets, but it happens in the meditation Joe Dispenza does. He goes into high gamma. And that's where you're kind of connected with like these monks who are meditating for many years. They very quickly can go into gamma. And that's kind of the state of bliss. It can also, if it's not synchronized, if I'm not having heart and brain coherence, it can cause fear. It's that, but if it's in order, it's like you have this blissful states and being one with the universe and being one with God. And that's the moment, I think that's the moment when we realize there is no other. There is just the us or the we, and there's that those states of deep spiritual inner connection. And it's not a mind base, but it's an experience. I know it, and I don't have to prove it to you, but I know it. So there's just, you see, what I did is I try to understand what's going on, and I bring together all these pieces. And yes, there is further research needed on all this, on nonviolent communication, especially on the empathy. There is a lot of research, especially through Tanya Singer, and also on the diets. And for me, the diets are a gift of heaven. It's really a gift to humanity to learn. And that's also what I say, it's a spiritual aspect of nonviolent communication. We learn to be together in a different way that is much more in alignment who we truly are. I believe we're all souls. I believe we're all coming from the light, from one source. I believe we're all love in our essence. And being here, there's just so much distraction and so much all that stuff that comes up that kind of lets us forget about it. So what's all about the COVID thing right now? What's happening here? I'm so positive that this is, I just heard yesterday, it's like one of the major or great turnings to help us to reconnect with who we are, to help us to reconnect with Mother Nature, to help us to reconnect with the divine.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, if I look at it from a spiritual standpoint, I think we're just on the beginning. But the way we were living is still quite disconnected. And just the diet especially helped me on a daily basis to reconnect. And it's just beautiful to do it together with another human being, one who is listening, or even a group of people. And I say that my vision was big in 2017. I really saw millions of people using diets. And that was the reason why I have the book here, why I wrote the book. And the subtitle is New Way of Meditating in Times of Loneliness and Social Stress. And look what happens. When I chose the title, there was COVID wasn't quite, but people being at home lonely, and they can connect through the internet. So I think it's really something that helps us to connect with our own wisdom. So you see, once you push the button, it's just flowing through.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's so deep, so profound, and sometimes like right now, with this COVID and everything, sometimes I also see in the different way. It's a time to reconnect. We have seen what's happening around, and then we are just in a race, like, okay, competition, comparison going everywhere. So now we are sitting at our home and just reflecting, and also it reminds us what can we do differently or in a different way that can sustain us. And then so it is a gentle reminder also, I also see in the same way. So regarding this non-violent communication and spirituality, as you have worked on a Center for Non-Violent Communication, giving trainings on non-violent communication and leaving NVC, what I have received at the first side with you was that openness, and then that humility, how you were connecting with me. Normally I was grown up in this Asian culture where like guru and then this student, like a teacher and student are like two different parts. Okay, they need to be controlled, and then these students need to be controlled, or with that fear to ask something with the teachers also. And there when I reached and when I was with you all, it was like openness, or no teacher and student, it's just like a learning space. And when we are interested or we have some questions, you were there. So with that profound learning, and I was just bringing it back and sharing it in my community. It's like the coloring Nepal with NVC. I guess our listeners and viewers, you all are well known about that practice also, that campaign here in Nepal, with the intention of awareing people and supporting people in this challenging time, and in other times also with non-violent communication practice, the way of life which I used to call the conscious way of living in non-violent communication. Yes, Simone, you have also mentioned two, three times this divine soul and divine energy. So, what is it? I would like to invite you to share more about this divine energy that we all are holding, and what is your understanding about it?
You
How
know,
do you see it?
I
Yeah.
whenever I hear questions like this, my normal response is, let's do a diet. And then I will ask you, so let me see if something comes up. Um, divine energy or connect a divine energy, what comes alive in you? So I would ask you, or maybe like this, just divine energy. What arises in you? So if you go inside and see what happens and then speak it out into the space, what arises in you? And I'm happy to do it also on my side. But I
Yeah.
trust much more that you know the answer from your inside than me telling you what. But I'm absolutely happy to also share my. So how about I just have this idea. Let's have How about let's have a 3 minute each diet here online. And I'm absolutely happy to go first, and then you can go second if that would be something you'd like to do. How about that?
Yeah, I'm interested. Let's do it.
Good, cool. And would you like to ask me first, or would you like to be asked first?
Okay, I'd like to ask you first. So,
So let's
tell me.
let's see that the question would be something like divine energy. What comes alive in you? I also have to write it down because I'm forgetting it. I think that was your question, wasn't it? It was that,
Yeah,
yeah.
divine energy. Yes,
What comes alive in you?
comes alive in you. So
Okay.
we do not need this tell me part or something. The initial
No,
part.
this tell me part is just from the original, the Enlightenment
Yeah.
intensive. Robert changed it already, and I never say tell me. It's just I have the question, and then that's kind of a the tell me is more an instruction. This is more an invitation. So it's kind
Yeah.
of an invitation to go inside, listen, and then. So let's see what comes up, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we know a little bit more what it is. Okay, I have a timer here. I'm going for 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm ready.
So you are ready. Yeah. A divine energy. So what comes alive in you?
I have an immediate sense of something that surrounds me. It almost brings tears to my eyes, but it's there. Something very loving and powerful, but much more loving, caring. Oh my God, I'm really almost in tears. It's just, I'm feeling so touched. And the idea or how it shows up, it's almost like it's wrapping me up. And at the same time, I have this opening. And it's kind of an opening from here into my heart. So now I see actually also inner symbols, almost like my heart and my arms become almost a bit like wings. And I have, wow, now I have a circle up here and a cross down here. So it's divine energy. Let me go back to divine energy. It's calming. Something inside of me really calms down. Now I feel energy from my head down to the end of my spine. It's like, I know this, it's a bit of this, sometimes I have almost like this energy shocks in my system. I'm just going back to the question, divine energy, divine energy. Now it is almost like I'm calling forth the divine energy to show up inside of me. It's almost like it was waiting for me to call it forth. So this is 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I know more about it now, and it doesn't come from my head. So I'm really loving this. So do you want to go? I'm going to ask you. Let's see what comes up. And you just completely relax. So, okay. Divine energy. What comes alive in you?
Yeah. Divine energy. Just connecting with the words and then it's like an image coming up alive here. I can see it and I can sense it in my body. Lightness. Warmth in my body and somewhere from my feet something from the ground something is coming up like a river. It's like just I'm moving in the waves. Like floating on the river. I can feel it in my body. I can experience it. It's like so much joy, and it's like so lightness in my body. I'm just like moving around. Such a wonderful experience.
Ding.
Such a profound. It's such a wonderful experience. It's like sometimes in deep empathic when somebody listens to me. It's like I have given that experience is a magical experience, and it's like right now also, while connecting, and then while just connecting with that energy, it's just bringing up aliveness in me. I was just like floating around, so lightness in my body.
You know, and isn't that the beauty of it? I could have told you my understanding of what divine energy is, and now you had your own direct experience of it. So, and that's what I mean when I say we become our own gurus, because we get access in that sacred space, and you have your understanding, and I have my understanding, and we don't have to convince each other about the way we experience something. And so that's the power of it. That's the gift. That's the what I receive, and I'm getting more and more clear also the gift, how these diets can help us even in difficult times. Now we had a wonderful topic we were pondering on, but I could even I call them the COVID question again. Why is it so important for me that everyone has the same understanding? Why is it so fearful for me? Why am I so afraid if people or my family members are different opinions? What is all this about wearing masks in Europe? Is that a big deal? So some people are really getting stressed. So we can actually take these questions without having to convince each other, but to completely connect with where are you with what you are pondering on. And I'm just there to be like in a theater, in a movie. I'm there and I'm watching. I'm not taking your stage. You have the freedom to express what's alive in you. And I'm there to receive it, to hold it in that sacred space. And I'm not asked to judge or do anything with it. And you have your beautiful experience. And I have my beautiful experience. And that's when we are connecting from heart to heart, and not so much we try or we think we have to connect. No, that's when the energy flows. And that's where there is what I say, it's the dance that happens from a heart level. And it's, in one sense, it's so easy. And it's also challenging because I'm not interacting, I have an open heart, I have a still mind, I'm there present with you. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. That's why I'm
Yeah,
kind of
I
really.
really enjoyed it. Even without doing, also sometimes it's like happening. It's a being, and then I just enjoy the process. That it's something just coming up alive. And then sometimes what we call divine, it's like a soul or something. This image. Then now it
Yeah,
was experience. It was not
yeah.
something like a statue or something. Not a, and I
And
just
the, and what I heard, it was like there was so much joy in what you experienced, and so much love and care in what I experienced. And then if I want to describe what I think the divine is, these are probably the words I would use. But if I just use them, it's like, well, it's about care, it's about love, it's about joy. If we don't have an experience around it, it just stays mental. So it's just having a felt experience of what I am pondering on. That's what this is about. So it's that embodiment of our knowledge or something like this. And doesn't it come so easy? We don't have to think about it. It's
no
just
thinking. It was just like a blank, and it was just coming up or some just like a flow of energy,
Mm,
and just different experience.
mm. And maybe you also made the experience what I just shared. Why the reason why I sometimes record because the moment we go back to kind of talk about it, it's almost like a little bit like gone. It's like, what was that? Oh, there was just that beautiful, wonderful experience. And I have to kind of go back into that energy again. And, this is coming back to NVC. For me, there is a huge difference if I talk about it or if I talk from it. And the Dyad helps me to talk from my experience. And that's different. And you maybe know, you know that. I think all the energizing and emanating teachers, coming back to that label, when they emanate, when they talk from experience, that's when they reach. That's when they reach the listener, because that's an emanation. It's not, I'm talking about concepts, and so that goes into my head. But if you share your being, what you really are, and eventually we are all divine love, we're all divine energy. When we speak from that, that's when it reaches other people.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks for this study experience. I really enjoyed it. And then we are also coming at the end of the session, but still we have some questions to respond. And also I have some thing that is alive in me right now. I'd also like to go ask that also. So I'd just like to make a check-in with you. Can we extend it? Can we go for another 15 minutes?
For me, we can go for another 15 minutes. So yes.
Okay, thank you for this, and I really appreciate this openness and then your presence here. So we are talking about non-violent communication. We are living it. We are trying to live it, because sometimes I find I'm not talking about others, but for me it's challenging. In every steps I'm learning, and then okay, I'll do it a different way, but I'm not giving up. I'm still trying, practicing, and living it. So some people sometimes when I hear about non-violent communication, when I'm working about giving sessions and workshops here, some people take it as a non-violent communication. We are not violent, so, and so we don't need a non-violent or something. And when we have some experience or some sort of exchange, then they suddenly open up with the way we communicate, and after the certain connection there. So how do you see this non-violent communication? What is your understanding around it? Or because I'm asking, usually it is a really interesting question for me also, how people take this non-violent communication. So Simon, how is non-violent communication? What is non-violent communication for you?
When we stay with the term, my understanding, I don't know if that's completely true, but the way I understood it, when Marshall even didn't it was not his invention to call it nonviolent communication. But from what I read or heard, it was like in the 60s, he was lecturing, he was sharing, and then whoever he was sharing with, they said, well, that's kind of like Gandhi is understanding nonviolence. But I heard that Gandhi wasn't happy with the translation of what he was teaching. He wouldn't call it nonviolence. It was ahimsa. It was that first rule of yoga. And I think I heard that if we practice ahimsa, we can get enlightened just by practicing ahimsa. But even that by itself is like, what does it mean? So I felt it in the beginning. I translated it with its friendliness. When I'm friendly towards myself and when I'm friendly towards someone else, then it's more likely that we find ways to stay connected. If I'm friendly towards myself, I'm not sabotaging myself. If I become my own judge and being really harsh, and this is all around self-empathy. So if I'm friendly with myself, that just helps me. It's like friendly or be kind. Be kind to myself, a sentence. In a world where you can be everything, then choose kind. Be kind. Or be kind to another person. And it's challenging once in a while. So, and then what I realized, another way to translate nonviolence, I would say it's non-resisting. It's non-resistance, because the way we normally deal with unpleasant feelings, unpleasant situations, unpleasant human beings, to put that label on them, the way we it's everything what's unpleasant to our system, we have a tendency, a normal, like maybe a biological or normal survival tendency, we resist. So everything what we resist will persist. It's another saying. So my understanding and the way I translate nonviolence or nonviolent communication is a way of not resisting my own feelings, my own reactions. When I'm reacting, that's already a resistance. But then I can, how do I react to my reaction? How can I be kind the way I'm reacting? Because that's just the normal impulse. So that's how I normally explain my understanding, because the term itself, yes, it's not really inviting, because just hearing nonviolent communication, people kind of feel offended by, oh, well, I'm not violent, and it does need some explanation. But once they do get the way I explain it, then it's okay. So nonviolence, it's be kind, be friendly to myself, to the other, because then we more likely come together, or I'm in a not resisting mode. So that's the way I would translate it.
Yeah, thanks for this clarity, because sometimes I just prefer to understand how it is for other person also, and then sometimes I also ask with the practitioners, native practitioners also, because sometimes they took that empathy part only, and then sometimes they took this honesty part only, and sometimes they took something, and okay, this is non-violent communication. They which say like that also. So another question I just received here is how we can be more balancing between this empathy and honesty, because as a non-violent communication trainer here, so people are asking that sometimes it's challenging for me to balance between actually expressing myself honestly and receive another person empathically. Sometimes it's like imbalance, or sometimes I go more in this empathy part, and sometimes I go more, if I speak honest, then I fear of losing this empathy. So this is the question one, first question we have received here.
For me, that goes into this, into what I normally, when I'm teaching and trying to get people an understanding what also needs are. Being honest, coming from a place of deficiency, and I will talk about what I call deficiency. If I'm honest, coming from a place of deficiency, I'm always coming from a place of demanding energy. And I'm coming from a place very often of right and wrong, even though I might use the right terms. And I'm perfectly okay with, and I'm perfectly knowledgeable with all the NVC. So the thing is, can I be honest coming from a place of fullness, which means I am connected to my needs? And the place of fullness means, when I'm connected to my needs, means I'm aware of my needs, and it doesn't have to be fulfilled. If I'm in deficiency, I want my needs to be fulfilled, and most likely from the outside. So
Ah,
if I have that thing about honesty, and I want just you to know about this, or what, it doesn't even have to be that energy. But if I'm honest and truthful, and I know my values and my needs, and I come from a heart connection, that's what I come from a place of fullness, then I can hold myself and I can hold the other just as I hold myself. And then the way I'm communicating comes from a heart open space with a lot of compassion, which I don't say I'm there all the time. Most of the time, especially when I'm triggered, whenever I'm angry, whenever I'm triggered, I'm in a place of deficiency. Just good to know. I'm in a place of deficiency when I'm triggered. And then to express honesty, it's going to be hurtful.
Yeah.
That's how I explain. That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you for it. And another question is how early trauma, especially the unresolved one, because you were talking about that now, maybe they are referring to it, bring personality disruptions in adults. How it's
Can you?
creating that.
I didn't quite get you. How can you say the question again? What's about the trauma and
How early trauma, especially
how?
the unresolved ones, bring personality disruptions in adults.
Okay, I would say let's go to our spiritual path to be here on planet Earth. I think what we experience in some way is also our life path, and it's also our learning. So very often what we experienced as our early trauma becomes our strength and our empowerment once we go through it and we solve it. So early trauma will always show up. Unresolved trauma will always show up in relationship. Why? Especially early trauma normally happens through relationship. So the healing, it doesn't have to be healed by the same people, but wounding and painful experiences we experienced in relationship to other human beings wants to be solved or healed in relationship. And I think that's the wonderful gift Marshall has given us by this being compassionate with each other and having empathy for each other, or living empathy and living compassion, so we can heal in relationship. So that if there is still trauma, it will show up. It will show up normally by I'm triggered. I have same experiences that are painful again and again. And yes, nonviolent communication is really helpful. And sometimes I have a sense it needs more. So I really need someone to work with me through the trauma. That's why I said, with just emphasizing and being compassionate, I say like this, sometimes that doesn't really help to go through the whole trauma experience. So I needed additional tools. Maybe I wouldn't say it's not possible. I, for myself, needed additional tools, which I'm very happy that I have them. So if trauma shows up in people, that I'm able to be with them, to hold them, and I have different additional tools to all the nonviolent communication to help people heal from trauma.
Okay, thank you, Simone, for sharing about this. And then we would like to invite to our friends, if you have any questions, you can drop it later on also, because you might not be accessing your internet, or you might have this challenging of this load shedding and the power cut issues. So if you are watching it later on also, if you have any questions that's alive in you after hearing and then after watching this talk show, you can just post it in the comment, or you can just message me so I can forward it. We will try to respond in one or different way. So another question is quite similar to it, I guess. How early trauma affects self-regulation, especially the self-image and the capacity for relationship? You have already talked that relationship part, and how it affects in self-regulation right now, and also in my self-image if I have that sort of early trauma.
This is actually a theme of the NARM, because if you know, our nervous system is kind of building while we're very little. Our brains are building. And when we experience trauma, it does have an impact on our capacity to self-regulate. Normally what happens, how do we learn self-regulation? We learn it through our caregivers, which normally is our mother. So in whatever case, and there's no, when we talk about trauma, it's always very important for me to also stress that it is not about putting blame on our parents or our environment. They all did the best they could with all what they had. So it's like this nonviolent communication, we always do the best we can. So, and sometimes does have an impact. So the self-regulation is normally learned through the mother or the caregiver. If for whatever reason that isn't possible, we have that tendency to always feel stressed. Everything feels dangerous. And so all what we learn, it can be nonviolent communication, it can be other practices that helps us, or like breathing practices, to really breathe deeply. Or right now, I'm just also becoming a havening practitioner. Havening is a wonderful tool that helps with touch. So you can like go by just doing this touch from my shoulder across my arms down to my elbows, and do this. And just if I do this, if I'm in a stressful situation, it calms down. Or I can do like I go with my hands and here through my face. That's what we normally do for children. Or even if I'm not able to do this, I can just go with my hands. So what they found out, this releases delta waves. And delta waves then helps to decode trauma. So this is, and if you're interested, I can send you just a paper because I'm starting to teach, especially for people who do have problems with self-regulation. I help them so they can do the self-havening that helps the nervous system to calm down. And for me, this is just an additional tool. If I love NVC and I notice I'm really triggered, then have an additional tool that helps me to self-regulate because of my upbringing and my biography. And I still have, once in a while, I still have problems to self-regulate. Then to have additional tools to help me to self-regulate, because it does have an impact. We kind of didn't really learn it. And now we're adults. Normally we're adults, so we have to learn it. The other thing is, if I have early trauma, and that's the difference to shock trauma, like this one thing that happens. If I have early childhood trauma or developmental trauma, with growing up, I also identify myself. So in NVC terminology, we would say we start to have these strong beliefs, like these core beliefs of who and what we are and what we deserve and not deserve. And that's a way of identifying with who I am, the image I created. And all the image I created, all these beliefs that I created, it is important that these actually help me to survive. So for a certain period of my upbringing or my development, it was essential that I had this because of creating this belief system and all what I created, which when I'm an adult is not really helpful anymore. But at that time, it helped me to survive. So it had it was almost like nature provided me with something. But then I'm a grown up, and when I'm still in those beliefs and I'm still in this, then it turns out to have the same experiences in my marriage or in my relationship. The reason why And this is just, isn't it fascinating to be a human being if we have a little bit of an understanding? If you had a difficult childhood, you're more likely to attract a similar person into your life when you're an adult. The reason why is having a difficult home environment feels normal. It's home. So when I want to create my own home, that's my experience. So normally I want to recreate something that is not really serving to me. That's why we get together sometimes with people that are pretty much the same as I had in my home family, because unconsciously I'm recreating what is home for me. And when home for me was painful experiences, unsafe, and all that, I'm going to recreate that stuff again if I'm not aware of it. Mostly I become aware of it because, I mean, I don't know, in Nepal probably you also have the arranged marriages, I don't know. So you're kind of learn to live with your partner and go through all that stuff. In Europe, we're free, so we're kind of just changing. It doesn't work out. But if I'm not working on it, I'm going to attract the same into my life again, because my system still feels like home, and it's not really helpful.
Yeah, it's something that resonates to my understanding also. And whatever I am sharing is that this COVID thing is contagious, and then more than that, that energy, our energy, what we are radiating, it's more contagious, and the what type of energy we are radiating around us. Sometimes I feel it's like a fascinating moment for me whenever I am connected with people who is always just like watering in the plants, watering in me. I found those people, and sometimes some people, whoever I met, they are always complaining. Okay, this is not in my life. I'm lacking this or something like that. I'm always having challenges. So I hear about that also. So what is this? Because I have never met such people. Everything is going well. All people are interested to support, and they are opening up with me. So what is this? And then I was a little bit curious and also sharing. And it's like it's only my belief because I haven't done any experience around it. Only is it all about the energy, or do you have some other experiences? How have you observed about it? I just wanted to hear it from you also, if you have some similar experiences.
You know,
Similar.
I think it really has a lot to do with what we're sending out, what we're able to send out, and what we're just the energy that we have. So if I'm in a place of, and I come back to deficiency and fullness. If I'm coming from a place of deficiency, I'm always in a demanding state.
Mhm.
So we know from NVC that when we're demanding, the other person says no.
No.
And even when we have this energy of I need, I want, and we can be very friendly, but if we have that energy, I don't deserve it, or I deserve it, so I energetically we are picking up on that, and you don't want to give if you notice that it's going to be demanded from you. No way. It just happened to me lately with one of my very best friend, and it came across as a demanding energy, and with all my wisdom and all my compassion, this was gone because I heard a demand and I said no.
Ah.
Because it was, for me, I don't even know. Of course, we talked about it, so it was demanding energy in it, but it's just normal. So how do we get into a place of fullness again? And then if you're in a place of fullness, and how can we cultivate place of fullness? It's by gratitude. It's by just serving other people. It's by just being grateful for what we have. And I think also, and I mean, once in a while, I hope I would be a little bit more humble, but once in a while, I'm able to be also humble. And I see you as a person. I experienced you the second time in Bali as a very humble person, Sri Ram, and also a grateful person. And for me, it's just naturally that when you're in that energy and when you come and you're not in a demanding energy, people feel free to contribute. Then it's kind of the humbleness, the gratitude coming from that place invites the best in other people.
uh, yeah. So
And
I'm
this is what Marsha said. From we are naturally compassionate and giving. It's our best side. And so how can we call force in other people the good sides, the compassionate side? And everyone, I don't know anyone who says, if I'm in that compassionate and giving and open heart space, I feel really good. It's just, I love myself. I like myself. I love myself. I like to be in that energy. It feels good to be in that space. It doesn't feel good to be in that demanding and lack state. So if there is someone giving you the chance to call forth the beauty, not in a manipulative way, it wouldn't work, but
yeah.
really from a hard work. So coming from a place of gratitude, from humbleness, from interest, it's inviting. So I think that's quite naturally that things flow into your pocket or into your sphere, and you're attracting what you need to attract.
Yeah, and that's what I believe that okay, this is the real power, because what people are talking here with the guns and this swords, that is not power, but this is the true power that is just attracting the abundance and then just coming up flowing. It's like a magnet attracting the things around it, the irons pieces and other magnets, just the energy, the waves, and I'm just fascinating with this process. It's
Mhm,
and also with the mission of this coloring Nepal with NVC.
mhm,
The first moment it just came alive, and then I'm sharing it here right now. Once I read that book, and then I was just trying to practice. At the beginning, it was I have some resistance, and later on, when my behavior was a little bit different, that was noticed by my friends and my students at that time, and they were asking me, what are you practicing? Are you in a training, or you have learned something new? And I said, no, I haven't joined anything, any courses. And in the evening I was reflecting back, and oh, it's non-violent communication, the thing I have read here. I was practicing it, and then it has brought a lot of changes,
mhm,
ease in my life. So I was just um, coming up alive from within, and I was sharing it with other teachers and with a group of friends, and later create it as a project of coloring Nepal with NVC. So I'm
mhm,
really feeling blessed to have been connected with you all, and then have been connected with this non-violent communication. It's written in the book itself, a language of life, and I've truly experienced it as a language of life. So I'm really grateful to Master Rosenberg and all the people who are contributing in this old sharing non-violent communication and all the processes, not only non-violent communication, all additional tools. Some might be different and with different name, but the similar type of experiences, a similar type of learnings to create this, to bring, make this world a better place to live
mhm.
joyfully. So thank you, Simon, for being here with us and contributing. It's really a wonderful gift for me, and I also got clarity on a lot of issues, and my team members. And now with this COVID, and as it is an online thing, we have it recorded here in our Facebook and this Facebook page, so people can access it later on also. So now not only Nepali community, international community can also observe it if they're connected in the practice group. So thank you for your presence and sharing. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being with us, and showering your love and your compassion to
Thank you
me and
so much. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure and such a beautiful interaction we had, and then just having me here. So I'm really, really grateful for you reaching out and asking me and giving me the opportunity to share what's just so dear and yes, precious to me on my understanding on how I hold things. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to invite you to share about this how people, and I will also put the link in the original post in nonviolent communication, because now it has been shared in different groups also. Our practitioners are sharing it forward, so you may not see it, but in the main video I'll put the link at the bottom, also how they
So
can connect with global
yes,
diet.
and did you also share? I do have a chat window here. Can I share, like for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
global diet meditations? I'm going to just send this. If people want to sign up, it's for free, so they can sign up on this link, and then they will get informations on. There will be every second Monday there will be an introduction. Well, it's a bit late for yes, it's a bit late for you people in Bali, in Nepal, Bali, in Nepal, because it's like 8 o'clock, so it will be in the middle of the night. But if there, for example, if I see that there's a lot of people interested in having an introduction to the global, I mean, I do already get, but also have an experience. We could actually even maybe organize something, Sri Ram. If you have a sense that there's a lot of interest, we could
yeah.
organize an introduction, and then having people have maybe just a 20-minute diet experience on Zoom. That's where I can people bring into breakout sessions. And then if they like to join afterwards, because there are two times, one would be around your noon time and the other one would be around your evening time. And they can join once they have the introduction. So they can join on a daily basis or whenever they have time to. They just need a fairly good internet. I mean, this is very good we had here. So we need a camera, we need a good thing. So they can just join for that. And the book, if someone is interested, it is also available on Kindle. So if you are interested, you can just go on Amazon. It's on Amazon. That was the easiest way for me to spread it wide. So if people are interested, then they can just also buy the Kindle. And maybe one time it's going to be translated. Right now it is English and German. I'm planning on Japanese, and maybe it's going to be translated in Nepali. Never know. If there is someone who loves to translate it, then let me know, and then we can connect around it.
Yes, yeah. I'd like to invite our listeners and viewers, all my community members, if you are interested in global diet meditation, to do the intro session, please just text me, and then we'll organize a group and let Simone know about it. And I'm really excited to go together with you, team. I can still access in other groups also, and I have already joined once in the introduction session also with Simone. But now I invite you all, and let's learn, share, grow, and support together in this learning process. So thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Sri Ram, and thanks to all of the people in your community for. It was a long one, so I don't know if people stay till the end, but just for their interest, and yes, for their somehow felt presence of the people who have been here.
Yeah.